As we set up our infrastructure to communicate, to work, there's several different support services that are required. The support services are actually key to making sure that all of our devices can communicate around the network. Several different support services required include DHCP, which is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This is how all of the devices, or a lot of the devices, most of the devices on our network get their IP addresses. PCs are typically set up so that they're all DHCP. We don't have to statically configure the IP address. Other devices on your network might not be DHCP, like your printers. They typically want to always have the same IP address. They can be statically configured. We could actually create a reservation in our DHCP server. So if I knew what the MAC address of a printer was, I could say whenever this MAC address is request an IP address, always give it the same one. So if I knew that I might want to change DNS servers or change domain, if there's some of the parameter that I wanted to change, I could actually have some of our static devices, things that we would typically statically assign, I can have them use DHCP and just make sure that I always give them the same IP address. So DHCP is an automatic functionality that lives on our network that allows us to, I don't know, allocate addresses to machines without having to be overly concerned about the logistics. And when you think about it, how hard is it to set an IP address on a machine? Not too bad, but what if you have people with laptops and someone from the laptop, from their office, goes into a meeting room? If you've statically configured their IP address, when they go into the meeting room, it's probably not going to be the same IP subnet as their office is in. So you have to have that user go in and change their IP address. Well, they're probably not admins on their PCs or their laptops, so they're going to have to get a network guy to, yeah, it just doesn't work. So DHCP actually is one of those logistic functionalities that really works very well for us. The DHCP server can be a Cisco router. Again, it might not be. In most companies, we have a DHCP server that's centrally located in the data center. But if we wanted to, we could actually set our routers up to be DHCP servers as well. Again, some of you may think, oh, geez, that seems like that's a lot of overhead for the router. Again, there's probably more DHCP servers on routers today than you would even think. And that's because of all of our home routers, all of our consumer-grade routers. Your router at home is a DHCP server. The Linksys, D-Link, Netgear, whatever brand that you have, all of your internal devices, you don't have to set the IP address on your devices on your home network. It's all being done by your router. Now, your router is also a DHCP client on its WAN side. It gets its IP address from your ISP. You don't have to go in and configure that anymore. Back in the day, I remember the first time I had a broadband connection, we actually got an email or a notification from, I don't know if it was an email at the time or not. I think it was probably actually a mail notification or a phone conversation that told us what the IP address was of our router interface. But today that's all supported by DHCP. Another really critical service for us is NTP, which is Network Time Protocol. That Network Time Protocol functionality is required today, where so much of the security aspects that we have are tied with time. Certificate services, being able to log in, it's all time-based. We need to be synchronized on our network on a regular basis to make sure that we always have all of our devices in that same time frame. If you get off by 5 minutes or more, then most things on your network can't communicate securely anymore. There's another service called syslog out there. Syslog is system logging. Those support messages when we were configuring routers and switches before, it just popped into our screen. Those are syslog messages. So a link goes down, I get a link down message. When a link comes up, I get a link up message. And I see them on my monitor when I'm actually plugged in, or if I'm telnet in, I can see them if I choose to have them sent down my telnet lines. But I'm not always looking at the CLI. I'm not always looking at my router, my switch configurations, especially for all of them. So when I have a syslog message someplace, it should be set up on a server so that when my router has a syslog message or my switch has a syslog message, it actually sends it to a centralized database someplace. So now I can monitor that database. I can monitor that one server someplace and see all my different devices. And that's the syslog functionality. We have some discovery services that live on here as well. Discovery services. Cisco has CDP, which is Cisco Discovery Protocol. Cisco Discovery Protocol. That's a layer 2 functionality that allows me to find directly connected neighbors. There is an industry standard called LLDP, Logical Link Discovery Protocol. That's actually can be used to find different vendors. So if you're connected up to a different vendor's equipment, LLDP will show you who you're connected to as well. These services are all required to support a network. Required. Can I live without DHCP? I certainly could, but it certainly wouldn't be very convenient. So these are the services that allow me to actually function. There are more services, but we'll take a look at these to start with.